Hi, welcome to a Roboflow training movie. In this movie, I will give you a little example of how you can add categories to Roboflow based on the file path. In a previous demo, I showed you how you can do that with a hot folder by picking up a parameter that the hot folder offers, which is the hot subfolder, which you can see here. The hot subfolder gives you the subfolder path within a drop folder where the file is dropped. But in case your assets or your assets are already cataloged in Cumulus, then the starting point is a record. So in this example, I'm looking for all the records in the sample catalog that have no assignment under $categories. The purpose of the workflow is that I'm going to pick up the asset reference of the file, and I do it with a little Roboflow trick. I don't ask for the asset reference field, but I ask for the asset reference folder. So that means that it will give not the complete path with the name of the asset included. It will remove the asset name. You could also use folder name as a path, which is a field in Cumulus containing the folder path. And then the second part, what this workflow will do is it will then construct a path that will be added. And what I'm doing in this workflow is I'm picking up the field value. I'm storing here the folder path from a category, which is this, with this inline instruction record field. I could remove the inline instruction record field and just use that field name, in which case I would have to use an action called store record field value as text, which would give you the same result. But this gives you a little bit more flexibility, because now you're putting the logic of what your category path will be inside a field of your parameters. So whenever you come back, you immediately understand how that path is being constructed. You could even add other fields here and concatenate other metadata record fields to build a category to assign. What I'm doing here is I'm creating an internal variable called catpat. In that variable, I'm replacing the backslashes by slashes, because if it's Windows, a folder path is separated by slashes. I'm replacing any double slashes by a single slash, because if it's a local drive, it will be C:/ // so you have a double one. Or if it's a network volume, it could be // and then the server name or share name. So I'm replacing also colons, because colon is also a category separator. I'm replacing it by nothing. So then I'm testing if the path isn't starting with a slash, because I want a clean path of the parts of a folder. So I'm removing optionally if it starts with, then I'm removing that. I'm removing this, the first character, which is the slash. I test it twice. And then finally, I'm splitting this variable, this catpat, which is at this point server name / volume or share / and then the path, etc. So I'm actually splitting this into an array. Why am I doing that? Because then Roboflow allows me to talk to that variable, which is called cat. I called it cat. And I can say, give me element 1, give me element 2, give me element 3. So now you can build a complete category path with the parts of that folder. And in this case, I'm picking all the parts, but you could just skip, for instance, this part, which means that you're not taking the server name or the second or the third. So you can decide how big. You can safely put as many cat 10, 11, 12, etc., even more than there are subfolders, as long as you have a semicolon here, the tag instruction. If it doesn't find the value, it returns an empty character. And empty categories are not created. So you would just end up with //////, which means it will just ignore that part that doesn't exist. So let's run this workflow. Oh, and the final instruction. So that's what I did, the split. And then I'm finally setting the category field value. So I'm saying the categories field of the record. I'm setting this to the category root variable. And the category root variable is what we defined here in the beginning of the workflow. So if I run the workflow, if I say start, it will have a couple of records to process. So show log, I'm finding 2 records to process, and I'm saying I'm finding that this smiley clown record is actually in this folder ctemp smiley, and I'm replacing the forward slashes by backward slashes. I'm looking if there's double slashes, so I'm removing that. I'm checking also for other characters, and then I replace also the colon by nothing, so I end up nicely with a path like this. And here you don't see anything changing. Here it was looking for anything slashes in front of the name, but since this is a local drive, it's a C colon. Otherwise it might be a / server name, etc., or / server name, etc., depending on your platform. Finally, it concatenates a string that looks like this. As I said, these parts are not important. Roboflow ignores them, and then it's assigning that to the category. And then it does the same with this other record. So if we have a look in the Cumulus catalog, we have now a record assigned here to this. And this has been created like this. And here the same for the other record. You see that you have something like this. So that's how you can completely get to that. If you're just asking for the asset reference, then the D drive instead of asset reference folder, then it just gives you a two-string value of the asset reference, which means that it doesn't give you the real D letter, but it will give you, for instance, data D, and then the folder name, and then, and so. But in that case, if you're using it this way, then you should make sure that you remove, if you're using the asset reference instead of the asset reference folder, then you should make sure that you do a remove of the file name, because then you also have the file name in the path, and it would create the category as a file name. And so you see, depending on how you ask for the field value, it will give you the appropriate field value. If the file is stored on disk and not in the network, of course, because if it's in the vault, I mean not in the vault, if it's in the vault, then you cannot get the path from the asset reference, but maybe you can get it from a field like original folder path or something. There's a Cumulus field that has that. It's something like original location, or let's see, original. It's not in this catalog apparently, but this is an older catalog. I think there is nowadays a field in the catalog that can hold the original location from where it was cataloged. If you're using central asset location, that still gives you the opportunity to know where it was coming from. So I think if you look in the list of fields, that it might be in here somewhere. Or original. Here, original asset reference, that's what I was looking for. And so you could also use something like that if that field exists in your catalog. And so there are ways to pick up field values, same as folder name. If it's really on disk, a folder name field will contain the actual folder name. And if it's on a server, it can also contain the server name. So you can pick up field values from wherever you want to construct to construct your categories. So thank you for joining this little training movie that showed you how to parse strings and turn them into a path that you can use for creating and assigning categories. See you in another training movie.